So I don't know if anyone else has noticed, but there has been a serious vibe shift here lately in the United States. And I don't want to blame the current administration or Donald Trump or Obama or who else you want to blame for this, but I do think this has been something that's basically been in the pressure cooker for a really long time. I think things have actually gotten insanely ridiculous. People seem to be so ideologically captured by what they don't even see that we're headed to, and that's obviously that we're headed towards a recession with the tariffs and everything. To be quite honest, I'm so sick of the left is this and right wing that. It's all just so unproductive and it's tiresome, and it's just the same social loop, it seems like, over and over and over and over and over again. And most of this stuff just hinges on pure hearsay and people's inability to read graphs that most of the time are heavily biased one way or the other. Or worse, you get, really large creators putting out information that's been misleadingly put together, and then it's leaving out a lot of context. And to be honest, it's just gotten completely out of control. And we have done a disservice as the internet community, as people who use this World Wide Web. We've done a massive disservice of letting the rage baiters and the actual real life anarchists take over everything. I guess my question really has been just what happened to morals? What happened to ethics? What happened to people being able to agree to disagree and just being able to see some things are just flat out wrong. Some things are just black and white, flat out wrong. There's no arguing about it. There's no left wing this or right wing that about it. It's just wrong. And so a couple things I'm going to cover today. You've probably already seen already, but I just want to get them out there and in the air. The thing I want to talk about is the KarmeloAnthony and Shiloh Hendrix thing. Honestly, that whole thing has been just completely disappointing. I mean, on one side, you got a kid who, under whatever circumstances that have yet to be revealed, has murdered somebody outright. And you have people supporting him and sending him money despite not knowing all the facts, despite not knowing all the stories. And even before the GoFundMe came out, you have people just being ridiculously racist, saying all the usual things they say about black people.
Super violent is 13% of the crime. 13% of the population doing 60% of the crime. You know what I mean?
It's so tiresome. And then on the other side of this, you got the Shiloh Hendrix thing, which, this kid stole from her. He's 5 or 10 years old, and you have a coalition of people thinking that it is okay to call someone the N-word purely because they stole from you. And I'm not trying to conflate these two things. Obviously, anybody who's not a moron knows that murder is way worse than calling somebody something, right? But I think we should stop for a second and just really think about the gravity of what we're seeing here. And it's almost like
competitive racism. It's
on one hand you have people who were so blinded by the fact that KarmeloAnthony is black and that the other kid was white, so the white kid had to have done something to provoke being stabbed. But in the same hand, right, you have other people that are literally calling for, this lady to have her entire life uplifted for calling a child a racial slur. And yeah, it's just really weird. And I've been scrolling through the comments on this stuff. And I'll be honest, I was really disappointed in how the black community showed up for KarmeloAnthony, not showing him guidance and, man, you got to control your emotions and do things like that. No, it was more so along the lines of, yeah, Austin Metcalf got what he deserved and all this other crazy stuff like that. That to me was a bit insane. And I know, again, a lot of these people are fake pages that are rage baiting and doing all this stuff. But the unfortunate fact of the matter is they got a real reaction. And because of that, this Shiloh Hendrix person who didn't do something equally as bad, but is an equally bad person morally, if we're going to talk about the fact that, if I, a black guy, saw a white kid reach into my wife's purse while I was eating out at dinner, and I called him out of his name, there'd probably be at least 5 or 10 white people who would show up and beat the living hell out of me right then and there. If not, call the police on me, right? And there would not be an ounce of, oh, this kid's a thief or whatever. There'd be all these different stories and narratives about how I must have done something to make the little white child steal from me, right? And that, you know, he's just a kid, this, that, and the third. And then you see this in this other situation, and the same thing doesn't get extended for this 5 to 10-year-old, which it doesn't matter if he was 5 or 10. We're calling a 5 or 10-year-old a racial slur. That is not okay. Stabbing a kid because you don't want to move makes no sense whatsoever. It's the same kind of senseless violence that we see in our communities that just keep people in jail, keep people doing the same things over and over again. The cycle just repeats and repeats and repeats, right? Like, we know what the issue is. We just haven't taken the steps to fix it. I, as a black man, know this. Other black people know this. They're just a subsect of us who do not care because they don't know anything outside of their environment. And I know that's hard for a lot of like non-black people to understand, but I can assure you that, like, especially a lot of the vitriol and hate that I'm seeing like online, more so has to do with all these preconceived notions about what it's like living around black people, especially from people that don't live anywhere near black people. Visibly so, I can understand from a perspective of somebody who's been robbed, who's been, you know, burdened by this in some aspect. Me being a black person in the black community, I've been burdened by this in some aspect, because then what I have to turn around and deal with is people looking at me like I'm like some criminal or some jerk or some asshole or whatever. Like, and it's really annoying that people don't even take the time to get to know you, or even like, you know, try to look at you and judge your character. You know, they just kind of throw us all in one lump. I have to deal with that. And I know I don't live like that. I know I'm not a gangbanger. I know I don't do any of these things. And you take all this hate and vitriol and you pour it on us. And I don't see like a gavel of black people going around assuming every white person's racist, because we just wouldn't survive that way, right? If I went around and I assumed that every single white person that I interacted was racist and treated them as such, they would lash out. The same way you can't treat me like I'm a criminal just because of the color of my skin, because you're assuming that everyone that's black has sold drugs or been to jail at some point. That's just a ridiculous notion by people who have never actually lived around black people. They've just seen black people on TV. They've seen and heard things. Have never actually lived around your average black person, not your average hood black person. Because what you see in the hood in America for black people is what you see in pretty much every impoverished nation in the world. Killing, murders. It happens in every impoverished part of a country, everywhere. And you were letting this like one thing magnify your perspective on a whole race of people. Now, don't get me wrong, we have our problems. I will make a whole separate video if this blows up. I will make a whole separate video outlining black people's problems. But that's not what I'm here for today. I'm here to talk about the just ridiculous amount of divisiveness that I've been seeing. Leading into my final thing is that, like, we have what we have seen in the past couple of months, and I do think this has been more related to Trump being in office, because I noticed this the first time he was in office. People have been very free-lipped because there's no chance of them being canceled. Cancel culture is dying out. And there's parts of that I like, right? I like that we are allowed to see these perspectives, because it lets you really see who your friends are and who they aren't. Really lets you see, you know, like how people actually feel. And it also lets you see the people who are doing things purely for money, because if you really believe in the things that you say you do, and you really believe in everything that every cause that you stand for, a lot of these like super extreme right wing and super extreme left wing content creators, they wouldn't care about being canceled. They would pick up all their stuff after being canceled and go sit on the corner and still talk about it and still do it. And you realize that doesn't happen, right? They just complain about being canceled and move to another platform trying to make money. But no one notices that. Everyone just noticed the fact that, oh, they got canceled. That was so funny. Ha ha ha. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. I mean, long story short, though, I'm just tired of seeing free speech abused. And like, this is like one of the bad things about, I guess, Elon Musk taking over X, is that, like, yes, there was like some disproportionate censorship of like right-wing thoughts and ideals, but that's because I'm going to be completely honest. A lot of the leftist stuff was crazy, pushing a lot of agendas on children that aren't okay, and pushing a lot of like ideals and thoughts onto people that legitimately don't make sense from a just like a logical standpoint, and how like society can function when you are basically forcing people to live your reality that doesn't exist. That that's insane. But at the same time, like, the antithesis of that cannot be just open and blatant racism. And so before I close out this video, I want to play a clip that I saw today that just kind of hammers home what I've been seeing. So yeah, I'm gonna play the clip and we're gonna watch this together and we're just gonna see exactly what I'm talking about, because I feel like this stuff has just gotten absolutely ridiculously too far. Yeah, so here we've got the Lily Gaddis on the Piers Morgan show. Now I know you guys have already seen the clip of the black dude, I forget his name right now, but he was basically just like getting mad at Piers Morgan for inviting like this lady to say the N-word, which I get in Piers' defense. He meant nothing by it. Like, he was obviously trying to prove a point, but that it was kind of weird that he like suggested that someone else like do it. I mean, that's one of those things they could have talked about off camera. Who knows? But either way, you've seen the clip already. And I just want to, I just can't even like believe this video. That's why I'm stuttering. I cannot believe how asinine this video is. And I just want people to listen to this for a second. Like, I know there's a lot of people that are going to watch this and probably agree with everything she's saying, and that's the fucked up part. But I just want everybody to look at this for just a second.
Racism is just having a preference. I prefer not to live around black people. I prefer not to live in a country where white people in our country are disproportionately attacked by black people. Austin Metcalf, where he asks a guy to leave and he gets stabbed in the heart. I don't like what happens to be coming out of this community or that community. How is that a bad thing? How is that not just a preference?
Because you've literally made black people sound lesser humans. You don't want to live around them. You want to use the N-word in relation to them, a word that you know causes that community unbelievable offense.
My fault? Is that my fault? If they have bad behavior, if they want to act in a certain way, if I have to cross the street and be afraid that maybe because of the crime statistics that are very real, by the way, is that my fault?
And mind you, a lot of these crime statistics that people keep posting, that's the part that really pisses me off. If you take 13% of the population and say that they're committing 60% of crimes, and then you actually go look at the graphs and 60% of the crimes are happening against other black people, because most of the crime that she's talking about is black on black crime. Because I guarantee you, if there was actual serious like crimes of black people going out specifically to harm white people, we'd be in concentration camps. I'm just saying. We would be in concentration camps, World War II style, tomorrow if that was actually the case. This is a dramatic generalization of the entire community, and I'm tired of hearing stuff like this. Like, this has to stop. This idea that we are all killers and murderers, and every third black person you see is going to commit a crime. That is completely false. 60%. You're saying that for every 3 black people you see, 2 of them are going to commit a violent crime. That is not the case. Most of the time, and I want to give this insight to anybody who's not black watching this. Most of the time, other black people, like in the hood, we're talking about hood black people, right? They're going to commit a crime against you because there's this thing about not snitching, right? And they assume that if they rob you, if they do something to you, the chances of you telling are way less. There are not that many black people. I can tell you from living somewhere that is notoriously violent. I live in one of the most dangerous cities in America, Birmingham, Alabama, right? There is nowhere where you are seeing a bunch of black people coming around a bunch of white people and targeting them for crimes because they know that they're dead. They know they know that without a shadow of a doubt, not only will they go to jail if they get caught, but if someone blows their brains out, there won't even be a funeral. They won't even allow their mother to see the body. That's just the reality. You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. That is such a ridiculous notion that we are just committing so much crime. Everybody's so scared, when I know for a fact in one of the most dangerous cities in America that most of these crimes are black on black crimes. And drug deals gone bad, all this other stuff. That, like, we're not going to sit up here and say that. It's ridiculous, like, we as far as society has come, we should not still be having conversations like this. We should not still be tolerating, like, just evil people, white or black, Asian or Mexican, whatever. We should not be tolerating any of it. And like I said, if this video does well, I'll do a whole video going over all the problems that I think my community has. But what I don't want to see is people abusing free speech to effectively divide any progress that's been made, to diminish any progress that's been made for either side. That's what I don't want to see, because honestly, it's ridiculous. These people are doing this for money. They don't care about you. They definitely don't care about me. All they care about is farming you guys for engagement. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to show you what's happening and how to not get wrapped up in it. So yeah, that's been it, guys. If you like this type of content from me, I know I don't usually do gaming, but I had to speak on this. I couldn't keep being quiet about it. So please let me know what you feel about this and everything I said in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you in the next one. Deuces.